Hey folks, Quilly18 here, and welcome back to our Let's Learn of Dwarf Fortress. This is our Let's Play of Dwarf Fortress with a focus on beginner accessible instructions, hopefully. I guess there's still going to be, I'm not explaining literally every button click, but hopefully we're explaining enough for people who are new to Dwarf Fortress to be able to start their own fort, hopefully soon. So we're still really in the early days over here. We're the 11th Fell site. We are now in late spring. We started in early spring. We've got our original 7 dwarves over here. A couple of them are idle, which isn't a huge deal, but hopefully we can give them some tasks again relatively soon over here. In fact, I know that our miner is going to get some work pretty quickly. This is our main floor that we have started. We've got a big stockpile area, and we've got some workshops that are flanking both. By the way, there's nothing about this layout that is particularly special or important or optimal or anything like that. You know, feel free to do your own layouts. Be pretty, be creative, find other ways to optimize. But I'm gonna just start with this because it feels fine. It feels good. So yeah, we've got some starter workshops over here. I did want to queue up one more job in our workshops before we get started, and that is some bins. Right now, our stockpile is not being used very efficiently because a bunch of the tiles in the stockpile just have like a single plant on the floor. If we start making bins, those things will go into boxes, and we're going to be able to fit a lot more things in here. So bins can be made in a few different places because they can be made out of metal, or they can be made out of wood. So right now, we've got tons of trees on the surface. We're just gonna make some wooden bins. That's gonna be okay. So that'll be happening at the Carpenter's Workshop. Again, I could click on the Carpenter's Workshop and add a task over here, but I'm really a big fan of using the work orders menu and saying, listen, I would like you to make me some bins. Now, if I search for bins, it'll find lots of things that, binding, okay. You can filter it by category. So just show me things you can build at a Carpenter's Workshop, and then actually I can see bin over here. But again, if I type in bin, then it makes it a little, okay, we got bins and cabinets. But the other thing is I know I wanted metal or wooden bins over here. So I could have, if I go to all tasks, if I just typed in something like wooden bin, there you go, wooden bin job. So if you click on this, by default it queues up 10, which is actually a pretty good start. In fact, we'll probably want more bins than this. How many bins are we gonna want? Well, really what I'd like is I wanna make sure there's always an empty bin ready to go. So we're gonna make our first little bit of logic over here. I'm gonna change this job to make 1. Okay, so this button over here is number of jobs. So you can type it in, or you can plus and minus. But I'm gonna say, listen, make me 1 wooden bin. But I want this job to repeat. So there's a button over here for conditions. Now we are getting into some fancy Nancy stuff. You can totally ignore this when you're starting out, but I wanna at least show you because it's incredibly convenient. So I'm gonna click this, and here we're setting up conditions. So by default, this job is a one-time order. We can actually change it over here to restart if completed, check daily. So literally it'll requeue this job every day. Every job day it'll make 1 bin, or you can say monthly or seasonally or yearly, but that's not really useful. That's not really what we're looking for in this particular situation. What I want this to happen whenever we don't have enough empty bins. So we can add our own custom conditions over here. By hitting some of these buttons. There we go. Let's say add a condition to the work order, and then we could make it, we could decide what that condition will be. However, at the bottom of the screen, there are suggested conditions, and that's what we're going to look at because it's very easy, very, very convenient. And yeah, they've got an example here, amount of empty bins. Perfect. So I'm going to hit that. So this is going to make a condition, and by default, as soon as you add a condition, it sets it up to restart if completed, conditions check daily. So every day, it's going to check to see if there are fewer than 10 empty bins, then it's going to ask someone to make 1 bin for us. And that's it. As long as we have fewer than 10 empty bins, it'll do that. I don't know if we need 10 empty bins sitting around. I'm going to go ahead and lower this to, say, like, a couple. You know what? Let's keep, these are going to start filling pretty quickly. So if there are fewer than 5 empty bins, make a bin. We'll just try to keep that much. And there we go. So this job's in there. The ... indicates that it's this sort of conditional kind of thing going on. And yeah, so every day this is automatically going to get checked and make bins for us. Those bins will get put in a stockpile, and dwarves will put stuff from these stockpiles into those bins, and this is going to get beautifully organized. Okay, next what I want to do is I want to go down 1 level. So this is just 1 level below our living quarters. Our living quarters are on level 30. We go down to level 29, we've got this one, and we'd found lots of great resources over here. We're going to want to start digging out this hematite and limonite. These are iron-bearing ores. And we're going to want that so that we can start a metal industry, although we'll also need some sort of coal of some type, but we'll get to that next. And currently, our miner, who I've renamed to Miner Tar, is currently idle. So let's get her busy with some mining jobs. Now, with mining these veins, what I could do is I could be like, okay, well, we've got that much over there, or I could assume the veins can continue and, you know, try to guess and do something like that. But we've got smarter tools available for us. If I cancel this and go back to mining, if I expand this extra options menu over here, we are going to be looking at this block over here. By default, the mining mines every tile. So if I click and drag, it's going to mine every tile in that area. However, I can filter it. If I click here, this will dig only ores and gems. So now if I click and drag over here, it's not going to select everything. It's just going to highlight the tiles that have ore in it and ignore the regular rock. So it'll just dig out these tiles over here. That's quite cool, but we can go one step cooler. I'm just going to cancel that. If I go and hit the auto button over here, if I click and drag, it's going to look the very same, very similar to what we just did, because all it's doing is flagging the squares with ore. But in auto mode, what's going to happen is after it digs out one of these squares, if there's more of that ore behind it, it's automatically going to flag that to be mined as well. We'll see that in action over here if I hit play. There you go. Miner Tar is going to come down here, mine out this tile, and there you go. You see that? There's more ore behind it, so it automatically gets flagged for more digging. So we're just going to let Miner Tar go to work. Now, sometimes a rock chunk gets left behind, sometimes it does not. So you don't get all the value out of here, and there's a variety of things that influence what that is, but this is totally normal. Sometimes you will mine these out, and it won't leave the chunks behind. I believe... I'm hoping I'm not getting confused between different games, but no, in Dwarf Fortress, it used to be based on skill. Now I think it's a flat, like, 1/3 chance. I think mining skill just affects how quickly someone mines. It used to determine the chance of leaving a chunk behind, but I don't believe that's the case anymore. I might be wrong about that, though. I will lie to you multiple times during this, but, you know, never by intention. Anywho, so this is progressing over here. See what people are busy doing, making rock doors. Woodwalker, worker, no job. Because carpentry, I'm assuming, is a job anyone is allowed to do. Oh, it must have been processing, because a bin just got added in. So we must have already built one before. So yeah, I think we just have to wait for some of this stuff to get organized a wee bit, and we'll get there. We've got some flies going on inside. That's not great. At some point, we're gonna have some garbage happening here in our base. So there's gonna be some garbage. Something's gonna rot out. It could be that there's gonna be, like, we might have vermin, like mice and rats, that our cats are gonna hunt, and then they'll leave the little corpse behind, and that will start rotting. What I should do on the surface over here is I should get a refuse pile. So refuse pile, and a refuse pile is kind of like a garbage dump, except it's a little confusing because there is a zone you can make called a garbage dump. That is something else. Refuse pile is a stockpile that we're going to put out, say, here, and we flag it for refuse. There we go. So if we get any garbage that gets generated inside of our base, it will be carried out here. A garbage dump, as opposed to a refuse pile, you can flag an item to be dumped right over here. And if we do this stack of wood, a dwarf will carry this to the nearest garbage dump, not refuse pile. I know it's a little finicky, but you probably don't need a garbage dump for a very long time. In fact, you can go whole forts without ever building a garbage dump, but a refuse pile, definitely required. There you go. We got some shells being brought out here, which is a type of garbage. These shells actually can be used in crafting as well, but it's still refuse, so it'll still be brought out here, and that's totally okay. All right. We need to make sure to get booze industry happening. Oh, actually, before we do that, last episode, we had designated a farm plot out here, which has been built. So this farm plot won't do anything until we assign a crop to it. Now, the staple crop for dwarves is absolutely plump helmets. Plump helmets are mushrooms that grow underground. Notice, my farm plots are underground. We don't need light. You can also build a farm plot on the surface, and in fact, I may do that in just a moment. But for now, these underground farm plots, this is where we grow our underground crops, which you can see over here. And the helmets grow underground. These are mushrooms. They can be eaten. They can be turned into booze. They're fantastic. And the other advantage of them is they do grow year-round. So our plump helmets we're going to grow in the spring, and in the summer, and in the autumn, and in the winter. I think it's the only crop that grows year-round underground here. So we're going to get those going, and people will start planting those. But I think I'm also going to go ahead, go into regular mining mode over here. dig out this. We're going to start a second field because I'm going to want to grow a few other crops. And actually, just as an example, I will go ahead and put a field on the surface for now. So we're going to go workshops, farming, farm plot, and I'll make a just a little one. There you go. A little tricky to click there just because of the I was clicking on a piece of stone at first. It's kind of a funky plot, but it's going to work. And all the plants we've been picking on the surface, we'll be able to start planting here. So you do need seeds to plant. By default, when dwarves eat a plant raw, they leave the seeds behind. Also, if a plant gets brewed into a drink, that leaves the seed behind. Cooking, I believe, destroys seeds. But your dwarves are going to be fine eating raw food for a long time. It's going to be okay. There we go. Construction nearly done. Who's this? This is Imush. It's our woodworker. I think farming right now, we've got it set to anyone is allowed to do it. There you go. So we have a surface field here, and you can see we have a completely different set of crops that can be grown on the surface. A lot of these we don't currently have any seeds for. What happens is when we go, like, first of all, some of these may just not exist on the map we're at. We might be able to trade for them. But yeah, these plants that we set to gather on the surface, once those get eaten or brewed, they should leave some seeds behind. We can use that. Apparently we got some prickleberries, so we could queue up some prickleberry growth over here, because why not? We can grow that in the summer as well. Oh, that's right. I forgot. It's kind of weird. Dwarf Fortress, for some reason, has seasonal crops underground, but not seasonal crops on the surface. It doesn't make any sense to me either, but there you go. We'll plant some prickleberries there. I don't think I really want to do some farming on the surface long term, but it's going to be a great little start to make sure that our food supply is solid until maybe we get... Because right now, we are growing food in sand, and as you can see here, it's poor soil. It doesn't grow very well. But we will eventually go down to the cavern layer, which is going to be the ideal for it. So maybe it will be very helpful for us to have crops growing on the surface to supplement that. Okay. With that, first of all, let's go all the way down to the bottom here and see how Minotaur is doing, digging out those veins. Lovely. Now notice we do have some extra veins that happen here. She was digging out a hematite vein, so it did not auto-designate the limatite to be, that's rock salt, okay, to be mined because it didn't continue. Bauxite. Oh, nice clusters. We didn't hit, oh, there's some lignite. Excellent. Where is the lignite? Oh, that was on the top floor over here. Hopefully we can hit another deposit of lignite somewhere else. I kind of don't want to do generic mining on our work floor just because I think things look nice as they are. But we are definitely going to want to have access to some coal if we can. What I'll do on these other floors, normal priority, yeah. I'm just going to go out and dig a couple of tunnels like that and see what kind of veins we might hit. Now, different types of stone are available at different depths in the world. So lignite's going to be in a particular layer, or bituminous coal you can also find. I think maybe just those two. And if we don't do that, then we'll have to make charcoal out of wood, which is more labor intensive, so I'd rather not do that. In fact, usually in my bases, if I end up doing a bunch of charcoal out of wood, then I rush to dig deeply and greedily so we can find the magma sea, and we just set that up. I do have my game set to save seasonally, to auto-save seasonally. I kind of recommend it. The game can crash occasionally. I haven't gotten a crash yet, but other people have reported that they've had those issues. And in the classic version of Dwarf Fortress, I also had seasonal saves as well. So there we go. You can change these settings over here in settings. In game, yes, autosave frequency. By default, it's twice a year. I like to do it 4 times a year, so seasonally. And I also like to have it save after the autosave, because sometimes the saving starts, and I'm like, oh, well, while that's saving, I'll walk away. Then I like to have it paused afterwards. Okay, let's get some extra workshops that we definitely need to get early on. One of the basics you absolutely need to have happening is you need booze creation. Because again, if dwarves are first to drink water, they will be incredibly unhappy. So I'm going to set up a still over here. We don't actually have to worry very much about a kitchen early on. I don't usually worry about it because the dwarves can eat raw food and they're fine with it. They do get cranky if they go a long time without a cooked meal, but we'll deal with it then. Okay, so a still over here. This is where we make booze. Again, we could add task over here, but what a pain in the butt. I'm not going to do that. We also get a warning right now. If I want to try to brew anything right now, I can't because it needs an empty food storage item. Basically, it needs barrels available. which is another job that we will do at the carpenter. You can also make like food storage item out of different materials, but we've got plenty of wood, so wooden barrels is probably what we're going to do. So we need to set up a couple of tasks. First of all, we know we need barrels to even be able to brew in the first place. So I guess I'll put in a work order. I'm going to do something very similar to the wooden bins over here. We're going to say I want wooden barrel. I think I'll do the same thing where I say, listen, build one. But yeah, if the list of empty barrels is less than 10, there you go. So if we have, again, I don't think we need quite that many. Let's leave 5 empty barrels around so we're ready to go. Check every day. So at any given point in our fortress, we should have 5 empty barrels ready to go for whatever purposes. And I think that's going to be quite nice. And then after that, once those start coming in, we'll be able to start brewing liquors. But we may as well automate that as well, because this is something we want going on forever. So if we type in brew, there's 2 types of brews. Brew, drink from fruit, and brew, drink from plant. They work exactly the same. And in fact, we'll probably want both in here. So let's consider our conditions over here. We want to brew drinks when we don't have enough. 10 drinks is not a lot to keep in our fortress. I'm going to say I want 100. There we go. If we have fewer than 100 drinks, then we're going to get this working. Now, this works perfectly fine for itself. I could also put in some things where, like, listen, don't start the job unless you know you have enough barrels to put the work in. And also make sure that you've got enough fermentable plants. There's no reason to queue the job up if we don't have enough fermentable plants and enough place to store things. So we can do this if we want. In a sense, there's not a need for it. The advantage of doing this way, you won't get a bunch of error messages or like notifications that, oh, the job canceled because of insufficient material. And basically every day it'll try to queue up this job, and theoretically means every day you might get a message about, oh, this didn't work out because we didn't have any barrels. So that's really the advantage over here. I mean, there's a few other things with workflow and stuff, but that's basically the big thing here. Is this way it won't queue up the job until we have enough material. And right now you can see we have fewer than 100 drinks, so this is satisfied, and we have at least 10 plants, which is satisfied, but we don't have our 10 barrels. Now remember, our job was actually set up to keep 5 empty barrels around, so we actually wouldn't get there. So either we have to change these numbers to 5, or what we can do is we can change the barrel job to have different numbers and things. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, listen, just try to do the job. As long as you have under 100 drinks, attempt to brew 10 drinks from plants. And actually, I'm going to put the exact same thing for brew brew drinks from fruit. So if for some reason we run out of plants, but we have fruit, then we want to make drinks out of that. I'm going to do the same condition. If drinks are fewer than 100, do 10. And technically these can run like at the same time every day. So what might happen is every day it'll queue up 10 brew from plant and 10 brew from fruit. It's not really the end of the world, so I'll leave that in there. We could probably tweak this in terms of how many is made in a batch and our targets, and also these little helpers over here. We could do lots of tweaks for that. I'm just going to leave it like this. Relatively simple work job, but I want to acknowledge that you could make some fancier stuff. Got some borax over there. That's great if we have to kill some leviathans. Shout out to probably the weakest season of Supernatural. Okay. So, yeah, this is going to start getting queued, which is going to be wonderful. Let's take a look at our dwarf situation. Everyone's nice and busy. Preparing raw fish. Yes, because we did build the fishery over here, and we do have someone doing some fishing. You can see we're starting to get a bunch of doors in our stockpile over here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to build some more doors just because it looks nice, you know? And we don't need these doors. Although, if they are well-constructed doors, they will give our dwarves happy thoughts every time they pass by these little doors. There we go. Get all that decorated up. Let's make our little dining hall over here. So we're going to need some tables and chairs for that. So let's make, I don't know how many. You know what? I'm going to go with the default. So again, I'm going to order a bulk job. I would like, so if we search by table, we will see tables of all kinds of different materials. I'm going to go and say I want rock tables because, again, we got lots of rock. Rock and stone, rock and wood, we've got infinite amounts. We're going to make 10. And I'm going to do the same thing with a rock chair. Hey, wait, why can't I find a chair? Well, if you look, there are chairs made out of wood. You can make chairs out of other materials, but Dwarf Fortress calls them thrones. So a rock throne is simply a chair made out of rock. So I'm going to do that. Rock table, rock throne. We're going to ask for 10. This is going to be a one-time job right now. I might set these up as repeating jobs, but for now, I'm just going to order up 10 of each. And my plan is to put 8 tables and chairs in the dining hall, leaving us with a pair extra of each, which I'm going to use for the offices for our manager and our bookkeeper. At this point, I will acknowledge the stocks display over here. If you can't see this, right? If you don't see the food, drink, seeds, whatever, it means you're playing the game at a different resolution than I am. And you're having some issues with, I believe, this grid thing over here. This grid is one type of scaling in the game. So you'll see it'll be very obvious. Let's say I set this to 250. Bam. You see that, like, the scale of the user interface has basically changed over here. So depending on what resolution you're playing on, and I think it's affecting people with like very high res or maybe ultra widescreen monitors where the grid's not being set up correctly. Anyway, just go in here and change the number to something, and you might get some extra info. Now, these stock counts over here. Right now, these are approximate. So if I hit stock, I can see everything in our base. We do get a little helper here about a bookkeeper. This is telling you exactly what I'm about to tell you. Without a bookkeeper, we only get approximate counts of certain things. We don't really necessarily know in some of these totals. You can click through and see more, but at a glance, it can be tough. And especially if we're trying to keep track of maybe how much food and drink is in our fort, we might want some more accurate numbers. So I'm going to get some offices set up. One for our bookkeeper, which means we'll have accurate counts. And I'm also going to set one up there with the manager. Again, we don't need it right now because our population is low, but as our population grows, our manager will explicitly need an office to do their work. So, anything here I care about? No, I think we're good. Where do I want to put these offices? Because I'm planning on putting a row of bedrooms over here, maybe on the other side. Maybe, you know what, maybe what I'll do is I'll just keep expanding the bedrooms on one side. It's like, oh, symmetry. But no, I'll do that, and I'll have sort of an administrative center over here. We'll have some offices. Maybe here's where we can expand into temples and libraries and things later on. Okay, so the office doesn't have to be particularly huge or grandiose. But I'll do 3 by 3, which is actually much more than we really need. But that's going to be all right. And then we'll set up a hallway here. Again, what I probably want is at least a double wide hallway so that dwarves don't bump into each other and get slowed down. All right, so we'll get that set up. I don't think I have any doors left over, and I'm going to want some doors for that. So let's go ahead and ask this. Now, again, I could just keep a repeating job for doors so that we always have some doors around. But for now, I think I'm going to ask for them as needed. So I'm going to need 2 more doors for now. Okay. So I'll just put that in there. Beautiful. I'm going to want 1 door for each one of these. Okay. We got some brewing. Who's this? Imush is working at the still. Very lovely. Now, I am definitely going to want to start specializing the dwarves as much as possible so that a dwarf can focus on a specific task and just really start to skill up like crazy. Oh, the other thing I need to do before autumn comes is I need to start getting some crafts. All right. Because I want to be able to sell something to the merchant when they come. Now, you can sell anything that you've got in your base to the merchant. Crafts are nice because they're just a good generic way to generate value. So we got a crafts workshop here. Crafts workshop can make tons of different things in different categories, okay? Lots of different stuff. What I'm particularly going to be interested in is in crafts of either bone, wood, or rock, really. I guess you can make shell ones, but you don't have that many. And we don't really get an infinite supply of bone either. So really rock or wood, and we're dwarves, so rock might be what we're looking for. Now, you can make generic rock crafts over here, and this will make a collection of random jewelry, so you'll get bracelets and amulets sometimes. You will get some toys, so like figurines. You might get, see these generic rock toys, short swords, and things like that. And it will also potentially make mugs. So if you make crafts, you'll just get miscellaneous crafts, which are fine. I like to make specific crafts because it makes it easier to search and to organize. And as a result, at some point a long time ago, instead of making generic crafts, I started making rock mugs. And the mug industry, my dwarven mug industry, has just become a staple of the channel, and I can never see myself doing anything else ever again. There's nothing special about rock mugs from a gameplay point of view. Make whatever the heck you want, but I like making rock mugs. Now, what we can do here is we can turn on this repeat task. What this will do with this on is this job, they'll make a rock mug, they'll immediately queue up another job to make a rock mug. This is a very simple way to automate a manufacturing process. Now, if at any point we run out of stone, which can happen if we're not actively mining, we just happen to clean up all the, well, what's the so-called non-economic rock around, because this will not make mugs out of more valuable material. There's actually somewhere, oh, stone use. So under labor and stone use, this determines what rocks are allowed to be used for quote-unquote non-economic jobs. So basically, like bituminous coal, we will never make a mug out of that by default, unless we hit this box. Then we can. So we can go ahead and not worry that our mugs will be made out of anything that we want to save for anything else. But yeah, if we do run out of that stone, this job will then cancel. Oh, it's just the music in the background is cheering. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Drinking industry song. Lovely. Yeah, so we'll get a warning over here when the job cancels for some reason, and then it'll just be gone. One of the advantages of using the work order system over here is that, oh, that's getting really loud. Great song. I'm just going to bring it down a scooch. One of the advantages using the work order system over here is if a job fails because it doesn't have enough material, that's okay. It's just going to try to queue it up again the next day. I mean, then you'll get the same error over and over and over again unless you solve the problem. Oh, we struck lignite. Perfect. Perfect. Yes. Let's go put it on auto mine. Mine out that lignite, please, so that we can start a steel industry. Got petrified wood, some jet, some hematite over here. Oh, there's some coal there. Missed that earlier. Excellent. All right. There you go. And yeah, that's set to auto, so they will continue to dig behind that. So we're going to have access to lots of coal for our metal industry, and I'm very pleased about this. In fact, let's get ready for that. I'm going to ask for, build workshops. So we got furnaces we can do. So we're going to want smelter to be able to smelt our hematite and limonite into iron. So I'm going to go ahead and put a smelter over here. Then once we've got the bars of pure metal, we're going to want to do something with that. So do we need anything else here? We're not going to need a kiln right now. Wood furnace if we want to make charcoal from wood, but we don't need that. Okay, so we can probably just put down a metalsmith. Metalsmith's not going to do much until we've got bars of metal, but we're working on it. Okay, so we're going to get an early metal industry, which is going to be wonderful. Oh, gypsum over here, so we can make some plasters and casts and things like that. Okay, these little rooms are set up. I'm going to go ahead and put down a table. Clunk and clunk. Oh, and while I'm at it... Oh, okay, we're still producing tables for the dining hall. We'll come back to that. Do we have chairs? Nice. A couple of chairs there. I'll put those. Okay, and then we're out again, but that's fine. Okay. Those are in there. And do I have doors? Beautiful. Again, we don't need the doors for the offices, but they'll look pretty. So what the heck. So we're just going to wait for these things to be delivered. Then we're going to plan our offices. This is being worked on as well. Yeah, people are doing a lot of manufacturing. Could turn off fishing. I don't know. Let the man fish. Although, I suppose there could be more useful things that they could be doing right now. But, I don't know. Let's supplement our food situation currently. We do, even though this is approximate, we do have a good amount of food right now. So I'm not super worried. Ooh, we struck more lignite? Or is that the same message? I guess it was probably the same message. Yeah, that was, because that's blinking there. That's the square that the alert was for. Still, we'll get some lignite chunks over here. And yeah, make coke from this. Excellent. I guess we might need one piece of charcoal to get things kick-started. So we may need to make a charcoal kiln. We'll see. I guess the charcoal kiln also lets us make ash, so, and which we're going to want. So what the heck? Let's go ahead and do this. So wood furnace. Sorry, I said charcoal kiln. Wood furnace is what I'm talking about. So the wood furnace, we can make charcoal from wood as well as ash from wood. All right. So these rooms are being decked out here. Let's go and make these offices. So an office is a zone. So in classic Dwarf Fortress, what you would do is you would click on a piece of furniture and you'd make a room off of it. In the new version, Steam here, instead what you do is you make a zone, which includes offices. Now, here we are making a single zone. So if I click here and do that, it'll make an office. If I click here and do that, this is the same zone. This is the same office. If I accept, this is all just one office that happens to be split in two different areas. This is not what we want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. So we've got two options. Either I can go and say, I drag out an office, and then I hit accept, and then I drag out another office, and then I hit accept. Now I have two separate offices. You can see the little icons over here. There is actually an interesting shortcut for this, which is really useful when we're making bedrooms. If I go and cancel both these, and I say I want to draw an office, if I do multi, the game actually does a pretty smart little automation here, where you sort of drag things out, and then it automatically goes ahead and see two offices created. Bam, bam. You're like, oh, yeah, okay. And yeah, they can overlap. Technically, they're overlapping in the center wall. That's fine. That's not going to hurt anything. So this gives us two offices without having to draw them individually. It's very handy for the bedrooms, which we'll see in a scooch. So we need to assign these offices to dwarves. We need to assign one to our manager. So our manager is Rimtar Oboktarel, our expedition leader. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now, again, when your population is low, your manager doesn't actually need an office. But when your population grows, it does. What's going to happen here is when you create a work order, it's just going to put into this pending thing. And until the manager goes to their office and signs off on the work order, the work doesn't actually happen. But more importantly is we also need one. Well, I don't know if it's more important. Actually, the manager is probably the most important. But we do want a bookkeeper. So let's go ahead and assign that. So this is another one of these special roles for administrators. If we click down here, and then bookkeeper over here, we're going to click that. Turns out that Atir Geblalor has started out being a proficient record keeper. Again, the default embarkation setup starts you off with some of these skills. So Atir is going to be our bookkeeper. And a bookkeeper definitely cannot get their work done unless they have an office. In the classic Dwarf Fortress, the default bookkeeper setting was actually kind of like middle ground here for precision. And you always want to max out the precision. Luckily, here in the Steam edition, now that does get set as default, which is great. I'm not going to explain necessarily what this means. We want maximum precision, and that's set. That's great. So we have a bookkeeper, but again, they can't do anything until they've got an office assigned. So this top office was assigned to Rimtar, our manager. So the bottom office over here, I'm going to go ahead and assign it to our bookkeeper. Then it does tell us that our expedition leader already has a study. So we'll do this. Now, these are just meager studies, but that's all they need. If we click over here and check, they got a nice little green check mark over here because that's what they need. This Atir needs currently a meager study, and they've got one. As people get fancier and fancier with their roles, they're going to demand more than just a meager space. They're going to want like fancy spaces, in which case you're going to have to smooth the walls, decorate it, put some statues in there. But these people are very happy to do that. And note, now that we have a bookkeeper with an office assigned, look at our counts over here are completely 100% accurate now. No longer do we get an approximation. We've got an accurate count, which is great. Okay, also great. Things are starting to happen over here. Lovely. So with my smelter, so if I want to smelt, yeah, I was going to say, if I want to smelt hematite or whatever, I need fuel. I don't have any fuel. We need at least 1 bar of coal to get this started. And that includes, see, we can make coke from bituminous coal or lignite, but again, we need at least 1 piece to get kickstarted. So our wood furnace over here, we're going to set up a one-time job to make 1 piece of charcoal. So someone is going to have the wood burner job. They're going to grab a piece of wood. Actually, they'll need 2 pieces of wood. So what happens is one chunk of wood is to light the fire, and another chunk of wood gets put in a low oxygen atmosphere so that it can turn into charcoal. That job is just completed. So now if I go back to the smelter, maybe I didn't have enough fuel. It didn't fail, did it? Probably just need more of it. Maybe we need 2 bars to get it started. I don't know. Let's make another charcoal. So we have a charcoal. Yeah, we have a charcoal in the wood furnace right now. It's sitting in the inventory because it can't be brought into our stockpile because it's full. Although you can see the bins are starting to do a thing. There you go. 2 charcoals sitting here. There we go. Okay, there. We no longer get the error message about lack of fuel. Now, a lot of these, have error messages because we don't have, whatever, right? We don't have, we can't make pewter because we don't have copper bars. We can't make pig iron because we don't have flux stones. That's okay. But now we can do things including hematite and stuff. Well, it seems to me like the best thing to do is probably to make sure we have plenty of like coal type material. So we should make coke from lignite and bituminous coal so that this will be our fuel in the future. So again, I can click an individual task here. I can put on a repeat. This will mean it'll burn through all the lignite we have and turn it all into coke. But at some point, this job will fail and be removed from this view over here, which is no good. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my work orders again, and we're going to set up some automation for our steel smelting industry. I'm going to put in a job, which is going to be to make coke from, and we'll put in both of these. We'll start with lignite. And our batch size doesn't actually have to be huge. Again, this gets checked every day. This would make 10 at a time. I'm going to go ahead and lower this to, let's say 5. Make a batch of 5. We'll put in a condition. So if the amount of coke is, I like this. If it's less than 10, queue up our job to make 5. But only start this if we have at least 5 pieces of lignite. Although, again, I could leave this off because, and I will actually. Because if, let's say we only have 2 pieces of lignite around, it'll queue up a job for 5. It'll make the 2, and then it'll run out. But at least it'll have used it all up. Okay, that's going to be fine. So if we have less than 10 coal sitting around, try to queue up a job of at least 5 lignite and get it going. I didn't want to put 10 because I didn't want to overwhelm the smelter queue with just this, especially since I'm going to put in another one, which is going to be basically exactly the same, but with coal. If we have less than 10 coke, attempt to make some out of bituminous coal. We'll queue up some 5. So this is going to run every day and basically ensure that we've got at least 10 kicking around. In fact, again, I could just set this to 1. On any given day, if there's less than 10 coke around, queue up a job to make 1 out of lignite and 1 out of bituminous coal if we can. And, maybe that'll be fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It might pace it out a little bit slower. On the other hand, it'll leave those dwarves more time to do other things rather than just, power up. But we haven't like just power up the coal making, but we do have our limit of, we're just making until we've got 10. So yeah, I'll leave it at 5. What the hell, right? Now that that's done, what I really want to do, now that we're going to have this material, and what I'm very excited to do is to smelt hematite. So hematite, iron-bearing ore, we want this running all the time. Again, I might want to limit how much is being made at any given time here, just to not overwhelm the queue. But yeah, if we have, again, I might say something like if we have fewer than 10 iron bars, queue up the job. And again, I could limit it because this should only run maybe when we have hematite and we have coal, just to avoid us being spammed with error messages. But for now, I'll just do a really simple thing. If we have less than 10, just queue up a job of 5. I'm kind of picking numbers out of random in this over here, but that's going to be okay. We know we can also get iron out of limonite, so it's going to be the same sort of thing. I'm going to say, again, if we have fewer than 10 iron bars, attempt to make some out of limonite. So between these two, we're basically, if there's less than 10 bars at the start of a day, we're going to be making 10 over the course of the day, which might mean we had 9 and we end up with 19, but that's okay. I'm just trying to avoid queuing up too many things so that a dwarf is just busy doing one job always. We don't really need 200 pieces of iron sitting around. We just need to make sure there's a constant flow of iron sitting around, and then, have our dwarves do other things. Seems reasonable? I don't know. I keep going back and forth these numbers. You will as well. Figure out what works best, and report back with some notes. Do we not have... No, you do have an anvil. Oh, this got suspended. Okay, so sometimes a job can get suspended, and I did actually remember seeing an error message about this. What can happen is, let's say there was a stone in this area here where this workshop was being constructed, and some dwarf was going over here and was going to try to haul that stone. That stone was reserved by the hauling dwarf, and then a constructor dwarf was coming over here and wanted to work on the site, but there was a rock in the way, and the constructor wasn't allowed to move the rock because another dwarf had already reserved this. This resulted in this job being suspended. So we want to resume the construction over here. You will have to check up on that from time to time. It can be a little bit annoying. One of my favorite DF hack, DF hack is a third-party like a little fan tool for Dwarf Fortress. There's one of my favorite little things that DF Hack can set up is automatically unsuspend jobs. So like once a day, it would look at all your construction jobs that were suspended and it would unsuspend them because sometimes dwarves just get in each other's way. Anyway, we now have a metalsmith's forge. Lots of things we can do here with various material. Now, currently, we're only making iron. Okay? In our smelter, we're smelting hematite and lintite to making iron. And iron is a fine material, but you don't really want an iron sword. What you really want is a steel sword. Steel is much, much, much stronger and much more powerful than iron. You know, holds an edge better, doesn't crack as much in real life, and in Dwarf Fortress terms, it makes much better armor and much better weapons. So what we don't really want is iron. What we really want is steel. So the process to make steel is a little bit involved here, because first we have to make iron, then we have to make pig iron, then we have to make steel. The pig iron needs a flux material. If I try to add a job over here to make pig iron, right over here, I need flux stones. There are certain types of material in the game that are flux stone that can be used. Is gypsum one of them? It might be. I wonder in one of our mining layers. I don't think chert is. Jet's not. I know chalk is, but we don't have any chalk that I can see. I did embark somewhere that is guaranteed to have flux stone, though. Well, I guess I could check. If I go and do this. Yeah. Okay. So, well, gypsum's going to be a vein regardless because it can be used for things. I'm going to dig out some of this, get a couple of chunks of gypsum, and then see what the game says in terms of flux stone. Plaster powder. Oh, it doesn't say flux. So yeah, I don't think it is. Okay, we got a couple of chunks. Can I queue up pig iron? No. So we don't have flux stone. Okay, I'm just going to cancel this. I don't know if there's a, in this Steam version, if there's a way to see what materials you can mine somewhere. Ooh, tetrahedrite. That's nice for copper and silver? Copper and nickel. Copper and silver. Let's do... Oh, that's on auto mode. Doesn't work. Let's do another little exploratory tunnel on a few more of these floors. Let's tetrahedrite. Oh, magnetite, which is another iron-bearing ore. Tink. There you go. Keeper. Error messages, yeah, from people trying to do, yeah, say cancels make coke from bituminous coal, needs the coal. So we might get this triggering over and over again. If you don't like that this error message is showing up time and time again, then this is a good place where you go, okay, yeah, you're right. Let's go into the work orders. So this is just going to keep failing every day unless we mine more. So I'll put in a thing and say, listen, okay, only start this if you've got 5 pieces of coal. So don't bother queuing up this job unless that's the case. Actually, I think what I'll do is I'll say 1. It'll attempt to make 5 at a time, but it'll only queue up the job if I have at least 1 material. So it'll queue up 1 job, partially do it, then fail with an error message, but then it won't keep spamming the log. You know what? I like that a lot. Oops. I was on the wrong screen here. Yeah, limonite. Let's do the same thing. I say limonite is 1. There's at least 1 piece of limonite. Attempt to make 5 pieces of coke from it. And that'll just keep this a little bit better. We've got the same thing with the brew job. So let's go ahead and clean that up as well now. I am happy. I want to kind of show this, but let's do the same thing. And in fact, again, I'll do the exact same thing where I just set the number to 1. If we got at least 1, attempt to do the entire job. This means, oops, that's supposed to be 10. Again, it means we will get some error messages when it fails, but we actually might want to be aware of when this fails because it can be an indicative of, oh crap, we got to make sure to plant more stuff. But at least we won't get the failure message every day. There we go. So if I dismiss those errors, hopefully those go down a little bit more. Oh, some migrants have arrived. Indeed, we now have a population of 14. So we have a bunch more dwarves in here. Ooh, include some children. Now, children can do some work for us, but not very much. Under labors, no. Yeah, labor, standing orders, chores. These are jobs children can do. So they can help a little, I guess. Okay, yeah, failed to make the coal. That's okay. Wooden bins are making. So yeah, that wooden bin job is you know, happening every day, but slowly filling up. So you got some barrels over here for our foods, and then bins are filling up for other things, which is going to help keep us organized, which is great. Rock mug task is in there. What I might want to do, if I really want to keep my economy going, is I kind of want someone to be making these mugs all the time. And ideally, I would love it. Wow, lots of idlers. Yeah, I might want to do something about that. Ideally, I would love it was the same person, because then they would get better and better and make us some masterwork mugs. So because we've got some extra people around here, I kind of feel like that's what I want to do. Now, there's not a category for the crafting specifically. It might be under stonecutters or something. I'm not sure. Let's make a new work detail. Actually, that is a good point. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way... Oh, saving. I don't know if there's a way to see what laborers are attached to these default work orders. Although I suppose what I could do is just set it to no one does those, and I can fine-tune things, which I kind of like the idea of. But let's make a work order, or sorry, work detail specifically for mug making, which is, it's going to be a stone carving job. So our stone carving labor over here, but I'm going to call this the mug makers. Okay. And only the selected people will do this. And you can see the skill people. So yeah, Aerith is the stone worker. I'm going to make sure they get assigned there. And I'm going to make Aerith into a specialist. The only thing you're going to do... I could probably just do it for the stonecutters over here. Okay, I'll put both these on here. Aerith... And, you know, yeah, only selected is on here too now. So Aerith is the only person who's going to do stoneworking jobs, and that's all Aerith is going to do because they're specialized. This hopefully will mean that Aerith is going to skill up like crazy in stone-related tasks. So if we take a look over here, Aerith is indeed making rock mugs. Beautiful. We'll probably want some more people in there, but for now, that's going to be good. In fact, I'm going to change my mind about my custom work detail. Yeah. I'm going to just delete that. The stonecutter's job is probably going to make the job done fine. Should I set up a second person on this? But see, I really want to see what this entails, because... like, is there a job that exists that is the metal stuff? Is it under stonecutters? I don't know if there's any way to see that. I'm betting there might be a wiki. Maybe there's a built-in help. Well, there's a built-in help. I was just wondering if there might be a built-in one. Well, there's a pop-up for the work details, but... yeah. Yeah, I don't know what laborers are involved in those. I mean, when I make a work detail, I've got categories. So you can see stoneworking over here. But I mean, it says stonecutters, but it obviously entails all these. But yeah, then there's a whole category for metalsmithing, which doesn't seem to exist, but I think it does happen. I suppose what I might want to do is just make sure I've got my own. Metalsmiths. Yeah, for now I can leave it on everyone does this, just to make sure that does it, but we'll probably want to specialize. And you really want, rather than having dwarves all dabbling in a variety of categories, you really want dwarves to be super good in a subset of categories. Oh, we're probably good on our tables over here. Let's see. Bonk, 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 bonk. And then same thing with chairs. Bonk, 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 which these will be rock thrones. There we go. And let's make a zone over here. Which is going to be our dining hall. Yeah. Done. So dwarves will want to eat dinner over here. If we can make this dining hall pretty, they'll get good thoughts. Let's go ahead and work on that a little bit. Let's do some smoothing. There we go, which will make things nicer. Now, Aerith is the only one who's going to do this, because Aerith's the only person in the stoneworker category. So I definitely want to add a second person here, and maybe make them another specialist as well. Listen, coal, we really don't need fishing that much. I'm going to go and make you another stone specialist. Yeah, I think I'm going to be pleased with this. Borax, rock salt. Anything here? Magnetite. Hematite. Where's our fluxstone? Alright. Oh! Alright. Although it is a grim reminder of the winter hardships to come, the supply caravan from the Humble Inks is welcome to... Oh, I never set up a trade depot. Oh my god. That's annoying. It'll get built pretty quickly. But yeah, until it gets built, we can't get merchants to trade with us. The merchants are going to hang out on the edge of the screen. I'm going to tear down the wagon to get this wood out of here. They are going to hang out on the edge of the screen. They will show up once this gets built. But yeah, that's a little bit annoying. I don't think we have much in the way of trade. We didn't really start our mug industry quite quickly enough. So I suspect there's not much to be gained from this. But yeah, they need a trade depot to unload their goods. I know. Just hang on. Oh, and diplomacy. So the leader of the visitors want to have a chat with us about what we'd like them to bring. Now, I would like to see this interface get redone. Oh, well, I've got to put a cut in here. Let me go and put a cut in here. We'll deal with the trade next episode. Didn't realize we're 50 minutes in. Folks, time flies when you're dwarving. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.